Look at that. I don't know what you got going on the side.
Divorce.
Oh God. Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're back live again. The We Trying channel, Better by Nature production. That's Leroy Michael. Yeah, we're here on this Thanksgiving weekend live with y'all.
Black
I guess
Friday
because
weekend.
Black Friday weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, sure, that's fine.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, what's going on with you?
Nothing much.
I was asking you earlier, were you okay after the game?
I watched. We got home
Hmm.
after taking the boys to go look for. We have a tradition where every year we take them to go get a new ornament, and we took them to go pick out their ornaments. Oh, by the way, the blue ornaments are over there. We can put them over there. So we took them to Hallmark to go pick out ornaments.
Okay.
Tradition, we take them go get their own ornament. Got home, boys did quiet time, turned it on, was flipping back and forth between Ohio State and Michigan game. Came home, watched Clemson fumble the ball on a revert, like the guy's trip, tossed the ball instead of just going down. He threw the ball. Then they tried to do a shitty reverse, and it was a turnover. And I just got so disgusted, I turned it off. I was like,
Okay.
"Fuck this." I was like, I knew they were going to lose watching that, and we turned on Bridesmaids because I didn't feel like using all my curse word uh, for the day.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, upsets all around in rivalry week. It seems like in college football.
Uh,
I mean,
Not
a bunch of ranked teams losing
a
to
bunch of
unranked
ranked teams
teams
losing,
or
but
lower ranked teams.
your blue bloods, Georgia, um, Bama, they won. They pulled out victories. So Ohio State lost, but Ryan Day is 1-4 against Michigan. So that's not shocking.
Hmm.
He's probably gonna lose his job. I'm sorry to say.
Like the
To my
Chicago
father,
Bears.
to my father-in-law's. What's the word I'm looking for?
Dismay.
No, he's really looking forward to him not being the coach anymore.
Oh,
Yeah.
pleasure.
Yes.
Okay.
Pleasure would be a word that I'd use. He's
Okay.
really looking forward to them getting a new coach.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. So we are live here, and we got a couple topics we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some Sony stuff. We're going to talk about some bad guys. Are the bad guys? Do you care if they're bad guys? Where you want to get started?
let's start with your little shitty topic.
Not on this week of Thanksgiving. That's not what we're going to do. We're not going to do that.
Uh, I don't know
Sony
why you want to
is.
talk about it so bad because you not go buy it.
I'm going to talk about a bunch of stuff that doesn't necessarily pertain to me. I just think it's interesting.
Okay. Me too.
Sony. The news is that Sony is working on a new handheld.
Who's
That
that being
is
reported by?
so. Bloomberg has done a report.
Your boy Jason?
I don't know if it's Jason, but somebody at Bloomberg. I would assume him, but I know they have other people that do video game stuff at Bloomberg. But
Doesn't
they
matter.
have talked about it. Um, IGN has talked about it, and I don't know if they source Bloomberg or somebody else.
Okay.
But a few people have talked about. There's reports that they're working on a handheld. Um, the biggest caveat is it's years away,
Yeah.
so it's
Of
not
course.
it's not next year. It's probably not the year after.
Yeah.
Um, but they are trying to get back into the handheld business. On top of that, they also released a software update for the PlayStation Portal
Now that to me is a game changer.
that allows you to, as long as you have the Portal and the whatever the ultimate tier of PlayStation Plus is,
Yes.
then you can stream 120 different games that are available, select games from that catalog.
You can stream everything from the catalog.
120.
I thought it was everything.
I keep hearing the numbers 120, unless 120 is everything.
Hold on.
But I heard it was like a specific number. And 120 is a number that kept popping up in my mind. But you were excited about this. You thought, oh,
Uh,
this is you said it's a game changer. I said for me, I don't know because I don't know the details. Chat, as you slowly creep in here, let us know. you're streaming it, so you're not downloading the game completely, right? So you still would need access to an online connection to
Yes.
play. Okay, so it's not like some of the newer streaming services like a Hulu or a Netflix where you can download certain episodes and you can watch those
Mm.
connected. Um, I do think it's interesting. I wonder what made them change their mind in terms of doing this.
Microsoft.
But I mean, we always talk about that. Like Sony is ahead of their number one.
What happened to your audio just now?
Huh?
What happened to your audio just now? It just
I
dropped
don't.
out.
I don't
Keep
know. You
going.
don't hear me? I don't know.
No, I did. It was just it got hollow for a second. Keep going.
Oh. Yeah. For me, I think it's interesting just because what is Sony? What are they thinking by doing this movie? You said trying to respond to Microsoft. I think that's interesting. But what we had said before was Sony kind of does its own thing because they're number one. They don't really worry about anybody else. Like the whole thing of them not playing nice with third parties or them not doing cross console stuff.
Hmm.
They had to be drug into that where everybody else wanted to do it. I I think it's interesting.
So, the reason why I say it's a, I like the idea of the portal. A lot of people thought that it wouldn't sell. I was one of them. Um, at that price point, for it not to
Has it
be,
sold?
it has.
Okay.
It is. Golly, I didn't realize I'd have to be pulling up all these numbers. Um, Sales for PlayStation Portal. Um, let's see. Do you want to go with Tech Radar or Game Rant for an article?
I feel like Tech Radar's good.
Tech Radar? Okay. According to Tech Radar, this came out on July 9th, 2024. PlayStation Portal sales continue to do well as reportedly becomes the best selling PS5 accessory in 2024. This is from Demi Williams. Um, I'm looking for numbers. Ad, I don't need you. I need to upload my adware blocker. That's not a very great article. But according to, let's see,
Dang it, Tech Radar, you let me down. Kay, hello, by the way. I don't know if we said hello to Kay when she popped in, but hello, Kay.
a lot of people thought it was a niche product. Turns out it is doing fairly well. Let me pull up game rant. Let me see what they're saying. According to recent published sales data, the PlayStation Portal is still selling strongly in major markets. The remote player launched 8 months ago amid a lot of skepticism, but it appears the PlayStation Portal's healthy demand continues to defy those expectations. Um,
Maybe nobody has any sales numbers. Sony's just saying it's selling well.
I want to say somebody reported there were some sales numbers, but I can't find that. Anyway, based on the amount of money that you would pay for it just be a streaming console handheld to whatever you have in your PS5, I didn't think it was worth it. I didn't know who that product was for, but through 8 months, it has continued to sell very well. Now you
Hmm.
had an update that says that you can stream, what you said, 120 games of their
That's the number I
premium.
keep hearing. Yeah.
So that changes everything to me in the sense of you have a nice little catalog of games you can play. Now, granted, I agree with you that it's basically just the backbone that you could use with your phone, with an Android or an iPhone. It's basically a high end version of that.
Hmm.
But I do believe that if they, the reason why I say this is a game changer is because when you talked about this handheld that is rumored to be coming out, that people are reporting on, means if they can do that now, imagine what they can do when they actually are invested in a actual handheld console, like a updated PS Vita.
Hmm.
Um, that's what I'm looking at. For $200, I think.
Question.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, and then I got a question for you once you finish
No,
your
no,
thought.
go ahead.
You said $200 for the Portal. What do we think this rumored handheld is going to cost?
500.
Because we think it's going to play PlayStation 6 games or what?
I think if they are smart, two things. One, I think the PS Portal is a good kind of dip their toe, and I think
Hmm.
that's what the PS Portal was. Before we spend all this money in R&D on building an actual handheld, let's see if there's a hunger for it. Let's see if this is worth our time and energy. They upgraded, put the patch on, allow you to stream games from the most expensive premium platform that the PS Plus has. So you have people who already have a PS Plus account, who have the portal. You're now going to sell more PSN or PS Plus accounts at the higher tier. If you already have the higher tier and you have the PS5, this makes you this encourages you to buy a portal. You see what I'm saying? So it's like vice. You're catching people on both ends. I
Hmm.
think they invested in this to see if this is worth investing 3 to 4 years development to get into this market because they're watching everybody else do it. We know Microsoft watches Sony, Sony watches Microsoft when it comes to these things. What are they doing? Hence why I always said that a strong Xbox forces Sony to be better.
Hmm.
Sony seeing the Steam Deck, the Switch, all these other people like Lenovo. Um, Matter of fact, I was in Target the other day and I meant to send you this picture of they actually have a kiosk in Target
It has a bunch
of
of
nothing.
handhelds on it, or
Yep.
hmm,
And it is the Lenovo Legion, Asus, uh, what is there? ASIC Republic of Gamers, and the MSI Claw.
okay.
So those are all three, and they're all three handhelds.
Hmm.
And I think Sony looked at it and said, this may be where the future is. And this is a way for us to sell more games because everybody's playing games on their phone. People are not buying consoles as much. And I think selling this at a price point of 400, I think it was John G who said at a 400 to $500, and you can play all your high end PS5, maybe kind of like a bridge.
Uh-huh.
You can play your PS5 games, and if they make this backwards compatible where you can actually play your PS3, PS Vita on down games, to me, that's an entire huge library that you can't pass up. Um, I think it's worth it.
You said something interesting to me just there, just then when you said
Mhm.
if it does backwards compatible like PS3 and everything, because I think once you start adding back compatibility, you raise the price. I think.
That's why I said 4 to 500. If you can play from PS5 down your entire library, and they do get a good job of where they can figure out which games can stream. Because I know there was a problem with what was it, the PS3 games? Which games were they had the problem with that they couldn't stream them natively? I can't remember exactly what.
PS3 has always been an issue because they went with that cell processor thing to be different, and
So
now they're like, those games are harder for us to work
if you
in,
can
in new
get that
systems.
that catalog, that PS3 catalog, and you can do PS5 down, that is worth a $500 machine. Because I
Okay.
think that's what over is that over 1,000 games?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
So if you have access to over 1,000 games on a handheld, and I'm not talking like I'm not saying these games are crappy. I'm not, and I'm that's not what I'm saying. But if you have an opportunity where you can stream all of your high end games like your Resident Evils, like the remakes, your Horizon Zeros, your God of War, all of the Final Fantasy. If you can stream those, and not just like your Vampire Survivor or your Dave the Diver games, I'm not talking about those, but these high end games, your Spider Man 1 and 2, that's a game changer where you can maybe get somebody to buy a PS Plus handheld versus a Steam Deck, because a Steam Deck is essentially a little computer. A
Hmm.
lot of people don't want to do that heavy lifting that comes with PC gaming. They just want to buy the game, put it on whatever it is, and play it.
Yeah.
And if you can offer them that at the same price, if not cheaper, then when they upgrade their phone, you sold a handheld.
What is the price of? Oh, my Xbox went off. I didn't was messing with it. Oh well, it doesn't matter. What is the price of the highest handheld thing out right now? Do we know?
Steam Deck OLED.
Because whatever the price is, I feel like Sony needs to either be that price or lower, and I feel like they could be fine because at least there's a marketplace for that. People have seen, oh, this is 599, and this is what the OLED is or whatever. I don't even remember what I paid for my Steam Deck now that I think about it.
So right now keep in mind this is Black Friday prices on. If you go to Steam right now,
Hmm.
your 64 gig LCD is 296. That's 15% off. Your 512 LCD Steam Deck is 25% off at 336. Your OLED at 512 is 549. Your 1 terabyte OLED is 649.
Okay,
So
so if they came in at 500, that'd be good, especially thinking later with prices going higher. If they came in at 500, that'd be interesting.
here's the thing though. Are you going OLED? Are they going is Sony going to go all in and go OLED, Bluetooth? Like is it are they going to go all in like Sony would do, or are they going to, I don't want to say cheapen out like Nintendo does.
Well,
But
Sony
Nintendo,
currently doesn't have Bluetooth. They have Bluetooth issues now with the Portal.
that's what I'm saying.
So I
It,
mean, I don't know that they would do Bluetooth. They would probably do their own proprietary thing like they did with the Portal.
well, see, in other words, that's what I'm saying. Like right now, the Portal is their petri dish. What works,
Hmm.
what doesn't work. Do you go all in to where you can do Bluetooth, where you can? Because remember, that was the biggest problem with the Switch. A lot of people are upset that you can't do Netflix, Hulu. You can do all that stuff with your PlayStation. Are you going to leave that open to where you can do that on whatever this PS handheld device is, where I can stream a Netflix, a Hulu, a Max, a Peacock? Because again, that is also a game changer, because that's not something that you can easily do out of the box. Like if you have the knowledge to do it on the Steam Deck, yeah, you can. But to have those apps in the store, to go to the PSN marketplace or PSN store and be able to just click download all those different things, to me that is the functionality. If you can get all of that in a handheld, there are a lot of people who would buy that for $500-$600.
So is there concern that they would eat their console market? Would they be cannibalizing each other? Because if the PlayStation 5 is 499, let's say the PlayStation 6 is gonna be, let's say it's 499 again. That's fine. You are they gonna have a big enough market where people are gonna buy both that and the handheld and spend what, $1,000?
Watch this. How much is the PS5 Pro?
700, I think.
And it's only digital, right?
Yeah, you have to buy a physical thing to if you wanted to make a physical thing.
That's the price of the PS6.
I could see
It
that.
ain't coming back. And I say that as when you look at the market, the PS6 when it comes out, probably I'm going to make a hot take. It's probably going to be no less than a terabyte, probably all digital, it's not going to be less than $700.
That's interesting that you say that because they like the Pro is not selling well.
No, not as well as they thought it would.
Yeah, I think it's a issue of Sony being Sony, where they're like, oh, people will come to us because we're Sony. It's like, well, calm down. People don't have that money like you think they do. I wanted to address something John G said, especially if it can be docked. I'm curious if they would dock it like you can with a Switch, because the whole thing of the Switch is that is Nintendo's console and handheld. But
Hmm.
Sony is saying their handheld is going to be well, we think their handheld is going to be separate from their console. I mean, if they're going to do the Switch model, make a super version of that, that'd be interesting. Because I don't know if you want to be able to dock your handheld when you have a console. At least in my
Here's
mind, I feel like you're monopolizing on yourself or cannibalizing your possible sales.
here's the thing. I wonder if they're one. I wonder if Sony's thinking is we cannot sell as many consoles because we're our sales are being cut into by the handheld market, by the PC market, by the phone market. So why not give them an option? In other
Hmm.
words, you make your PlayStation this high end thing
Hmm.
where you're going to have a core group of people who are always going to buy your console.
Hmm.
That instead of Sony eating the cost of those consoles like they used to, well, we're going to pass that price onto the consumer. We're not going to eat that because we're no longer making that money on the back end like we did with games. So let's sell this as a high end thing. But then you also have a cheaper console, so to speak, in your handheld, where there may be options where you can dock your console, your handheld, which is actually your console, and then you have two, kind of like what Microsoft has with their high end Xbox, and then they have the Xbox Series S, right?
Hmm.
Your Series S is your entry level console. It's totally digital. That maybe is what Sony's looking at.
Yeah, it's funny because when Microsoft did that, people were like, I don't know if this is going to work. Microsoft was so gung ho about it, but it does seem like it's kind of biting them in the butt now because some people are having issues. Their whole Microsoft philosophy was you produce for the Series X and you produce for the Series S. You
Hmm.
have to work on both. But some games like Baldur's Gate 3, they don't work on the S. It only works on the X. That was the whole reason why they went to PlayStation, had that
First.
exclusivity.
Hmm.
So the idea of having a lower model console or a lower spec console is interesting, but I feel like you're biting yourself in the ass because you're
If
trying to develop for everything.
here's the thing, but that's also part of the problem is because that the specs of that S was so low. If you start out and say, in order to make games for this PS5, it's got to be PS5 or Pro. There is no lower tier PS5. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So if you're already starting at, it has to be PS5, and you're having more and more people learn how to actually use that hardware to actually make the game because that was one of the biggest problems. A lot of people were playing catch up because the pandemic pushed them back. So we saw a lot of games delayed. They did not know how to work with the hardware. So if you're already coming into it knowing how to work the PS5 and you can stream this game on your handheld, I think this puts it gives the PS5 a longer life. Because
Sure.
if you think about it, in about 3 to 4 years, if this was a regular life cycle, there'd be talk of a PS6 already.
Yeah, and I think we're going to hear it sooner than later because both Microsoft and Sony, but especially Sony, they have not sold PS5s like they wanted to. They said the sales are definitely slowing down,
Hmm.
so they're probably already looking at, hey, we need to bring in this PS6.
So I
But
think if
it's
you,
so crazy when they say that because I still feel like these game as good as these games look, nothing has been like, holy crap, this is man, this is
yeah,
wild.
I mean, if you
So
think about it, people are still saying the best game on the PS5 that came out and delivered what it promised was Ratchet and Clank. Everything else had hiccups coming out of the box. And I know right now everybody is loving Cyberpunk, but again, we have short attention spans because Cyberpunk, when it first came out, was horrible. Like right now, they're selling this Ultimate Edition with Phantom Liberty, and it looks great. I don't know if you saw the ad of "Follow Your Dreams," the new Cyberpunk commercial, and the
Mm-mm.
advertising they got going on. It looks amazing.
Mm.
Night City looks like it's supposed to look, but
Mm-hmm.
that's 2 and 3 years after the game launched,
Right.
and so we're. I think given some more time, a lot of these game companies are going to actually start being able to utilize the PS5 hardware the way they're supposed to. But this reminds me of the PS3 all over again because you had some of the best PS3 games come out at towards the end of its life cycle.
Sure.
The Last of Us, Shadow of Colossus, um, some of the Uncharted's. A lot of that stuff came out at the end of its life cycle. Uh, Microsoft. I'm reading Ken from Chicago's comment. Microsoft is still
Yeah.
pushing Stadia badly mismarketed cloud gaming. Let the server be the console you can play on your phone, tablet. Here's the thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Stadia wanted to be a Netflix of gaming, correct? But the problem was,
No, because it wasn't like you bought a subscription and you had access to games. You still had to buy the games.
okay, so thank you. So,
Which that I think that was the crazy part. It was that, oh yeah, you still got to buy these games on top of this untested console server thing.
and you can only play the game in one place, right? You can only play that game on the Stadia.
Yes. Yeah.
So, here's the thing. I think Microsoft has a good product. The problem is they have bad marketing. And because I don't know how hard it would be, but Microsoft, honestly, what they should have partnered done was partner with somebody to make them a handheld.
Do
Make
we
them
know
a,
that they aren't doing that?
now. I'm not saying they're not. I'm saying they
Okay.
should have already done this.
Okay. I
They
got
should
you.
have been ahead. Here's the thing: if you're in business, you have to outdo your competitor. And if your competitor is doing something better than you, then you find another way and another avenue, which is what Nintendo has constantly done at a lower price point with cheaper materials and has outsold both of them.
Hmm.
Microsoft should have noticed and looked at the handheld market and said, Nintendo is not making the games that we make. They're kid friendly, they're more family oriented. Sony is beating us in the console market. Let's find out if we can get let's see if we can carve our own niche and get somebody to make us a handheld
Hmm.
that plays uh, the service, Game Pass,
Game Pass. Sure.
like an official Microsoft handheld. To me, that would have been great. Um, but again, I don't. Nobody comes to us to ask for our help in making these decisions to their detriment.
That's why they're losing market share because they're not coming to us.
Hey, man, they came to us. I can make you some money.
If you come to us, I can guarantee you at least one sale, plus one sale,
Nah,
at least one. That's what
three.
I'll
We can
guarantee.
get you three.
Okay,
It's
cool.
like spades, three and a possible.
Okay, fair enough. Um, yeah, what was let's see. Ken is talking about Game Pass is essentially Netflix of games. It is, which I've been preaching forever. Um, and Microsoft's new campaign. We're talking about campaigns. Microsoft's new campaign about everything is an Xbox is interesting. I don't know if people are paying attention to. Have you seen their ads?
Mhm.
I hope it works. I think it's interesting. Like, oh, your phone's an Xbox, your TV's an Xbox, your all this stuff's an Xbox. So we'll see if it works for them. Your Fire Stick is an Xbox.
I that and see that's where I think Microsoft, if they were smart, that's where they should have gone. What they should have done is exactly play those ads during football, play those ads during the WNBA, play those ads during the NBA, play those. You know what you should have done? If I was Microsoft, that goddamn shitty ass Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, I'd have bought ad space during that fight. When fighters were coming out, I would have had Microsoft ads in that arena,
Sure.
everything's at Xbox. I would have bought, and when this new Netflix Christmas game is coming with Beyonce, I want you to think
Yeah,
about this for a second. Netflix is going to stream a Christmas game. Beyonce is the halftime performer, and it's a regular season game.
I hope it works out for him. Like I hope the logistically they're able to pull this off because I
I
don't
mean, they
trust it.
couldn't pull off the Jake Paul fight, so
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't trust it.
because they said about 60 million people watched that fight.
I would imagine they probably won't have that high number for a regular season game.
It's Beyonce. I'm going to say it's probably. I'm going to say by the end of that Christmas, over 100 million people are going to try to watch that performance.
Sure, but not live.
I'm going to say it's going to be north of 60. I'm going to say live. They're going to. I would say
Wait, how much? What is the Super Bowl number?
this is Beyonce, and she hasn't toured with this album.
That's fine, but I'll take a
I'm,
hot
I'm
take. I don't think this number is going to be higher than what the highest Super Bowl would draw.
I'm not saying it's going to be higher than a Super Bowl. I'm saying for a Beyonce, for everybody to be home on Christmas,
Hmm.
for Netflix to have a Beyonce halftime show, I don't think Jake Paul and Mike Tyson are going to have higher numbers than a Beyonce show.
That'll be interesting.
I
We'll
would,
see
be-
what Netflix does.
I would put some serious money on that. That
Okay.
Jake Paul and Mike Tyson is not going to outdo a Beyonce performance.
Okay.
We're a proper country.
Okay. Sure. Um,
Because let me tell you right now,
Beyonce did do a Netflix documentary, right, or like a Netflix concert.
she did Coachella,
Okay. Did
and
she
then
do
they
like
put.
Homecoming or something?
Mhm.
Is that the
So
same
when
thing, or
I'm
is that's a different thing?
no, she did. Hold on, let me ask the Beyonce expert. Hey,
Yeah.
Beyonce on Netflix. That was Coachella, right? What was streamed on Netflix? Was anything streamed, or did they just
Did she
put
do something called Homecoming on Netflix?
they just put it on there?
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right.
And this is why I say I know a lot of people. The novelty of Jake Paul and Mike Tyson was interesting. Here's the thing: that was on a Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
This is Christmas.
That's true.
Everybody's off. Everybody's at home, gathered around the TV. On top of this is a football game, so you're gonna have bars and stuff open. So you're gonna have people at home turning this on, people in bars. I think this is gonna be north of 80 million people
Wow. Okay.
live.
Okay. Wow. I don't think it's gonna work then.
And this is the thing. I agree with you. I
Yeah.
agree with you. I don't think it's gonna work because this to me this is say like Beyonce and Taylor Swift are probably the only two people who could crash a streaming service, and we're about to find out.
Sure. I'm just excited for Raw to go to Netflix. It's January 6th. That'll be interesting.
Say what?
I'm excited for Monday Night Raw to go to Netflix instead of USA. It goes to Netflix on January 6th.
Oh, so all you guys who stormed the Capitol will have something to watch on your anniversary.
Wow, sir, I have no words. I can't fight back.
uh,
That just dawned on me that it's January 6th now. Wow. You
what?
you you go. I'm at a loss for words at the moment.
Hey, man, I got bars.
Yeah. Thank
Um,
you, Kendrick. Yeah, that's great.
I'm here for you.
Uh huh.
Uh, so I don't know. Like I said, I thought because here's the thing, and this is why I said to me this is a game changer. That PS Portal is
Hmm.
going to come down in prices, $200 in a year. That thing's going to be $150.
You think so?
And next year, I think that thing is going to drop in price, especially after CES and after the Switch 2 drops. That thing is going to drop in price.
Yeah. But
And we
it's
didn't even talk
interesting.
about Nintendo's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, they're there's probably no news of a Switch 2 this year. I mean, we're in December now at this point. I don't think they're going to announce it at the Game Awards. Jeff Keighley don't have that pull. Um,
Yeah,
but
because Nintendo does it. Nintendo marches to its own beat.
yeah. So I guess we'll hear about the Switch in the next 3 months, starting in January, February, March.
Again, I
'Cause-
think it's CES. I think they're going to start leaking out stuff right around CES. I don't know if they would premiere it at CES, but I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, that's why I said I think Nintendo is on top of the game. I think this could put them over the top.
Mhm.
Now, I do expect PS5 numbers to increase once GTA 6 drops. I do see the I do see more and more people buying those consoles, especially with the Pro, because it's going to be at least another year before it drops on PC for GTA
Mhm.
6.
Mhm.
So you're going to see a lot of PS5 numbers uptick there. I do believe the PS Portal is going to drop in price 25 to 40, maybe even $50. I do see that price point dropping that much next year. This time next year, I expect to see that thing at 175, maybe even 165.
Okay.
I don't see it staying at $200. Not
Okay.
when you have a choice between because here's another thing. Nintendo's going to drop that price of that Switch.
Yeah.
And if they drop the price of that Switch and up the price a little bit of that Switch too, oh yeah, that Portal's coming down.
I was hoping, I was selfishly hoping that the Switch would overtake PS2 for all-time sales.
Why?
Just because I like Nintendo, so I'm a fanboy. That's all.
Okay.
I don't care.
I thought there was,
I have no stake in it either way.
I thought there was a big
PlayStation.
reason behind that.
No. PlayStation just announced lifetime sales of PS2 at 160 million.
Okay.
Um, Number one console, and I think Switch is at 146 million.
Hmm.
So they had a shot at it, but they've said sales are lagging. So I don't know.
And
Um,
here's the thing, and just to give you a sense of how much, excuse me, how much more the PS2 has over the Nintendo, and you could look at it either way. The PS2 was a DVD player,
mhm,
so people were buying a PS2 for the fact that it plays games, and it was a DVD player. That's not what the Switch is. The Switch, all it does is play games. So you think about that. People were buying a PS2 for the fact that it was a DVD player. And that's why some of those numbers, same thing with the PS3 and the PS4, those were DVD and Blu-ray players. So that actually fueled those numbers to be that high.
mhm,
And the Switch is going to catch that. And all it does is play games. It's not a utilitarian device like a
mhm.
lot of these other consoles were. That's how great the Switch is.
Hey man, you don't get to sell me on a Switch. I know.
But I think that's what a lot of people don't realize when they look at these numbers. When they look at these PS3 numbers, when they look at these PS4 numbers, they don't realize a lot of people bought them because it was cheaper to buy a PS4 than to buy a Blu-ray player. Because you hit two birds with one stone.
Sure. Yep, Janie. Kate put it right there.
Hmm.
Um, has outshone Neurotech. Yeah. I mean, all right. We can move to your topic. I feel like we hit this. If you have any
Okay.
final thoughts on it,
Uh, no,
I'm cautiously optimistic.
handheld is the future. Matter of fact, Eric from Scratch and Spin just announced he had some new Vita games he got used, and one of them was Call of Duty. It was like $14, and I was like, I'll pick that up. There's a couple of and here's another thing too. I think with a lot of old tech, people who have kids, that's fun, man. Like introducing your kids to like old technology and like, oh, look at this. Because my kids'
Hmm.
hands aren't big enough to play a PS5, but they're big enough to play um, a PS Vita.
Hmm.
His hands are big enough that he can play um, the Nintendo Classic.
Okay.
So I think that's though to me that's cool. My other topic was is the year of the villain and why are we so enamored with villains and villain origin stories? two of the best, and I say this even though Joker 2 was a flop, but there was a lot of interest in the Joker origin story from Todd Phillips. That movie won Joaquin Phoenix's second Oscar, um, made almost $1 billion, and they greenlighted a sequel with Lady Gaga. Now that movie flopped, did not do well critically or commercially. But if you look at two of the best shows this year, critically acclaimed was Agatha. It was Agatha All Along and The Penguin, and it just made me think: why are we so enamored with villain stories? It made
Uh,
me
uh,
question that.
yeah, it's interesting because, and this was just a happy coincidence. Like Wicked is out now,
Yep,
and that is essentially the origin story of the
yep.
Wicked Witch of the West.
Which my wife has seen and cannot stop talking about it.
People love it. I want to see it. I just don't think I want to see it in theater and hear people sing. I think I want to see it in my house and listen
Hold
to it
on.
that way.
Now, granted, were there a lot of people singing in Wicked when you went? No people were singing in Wicked when she went.
That's good. Okay,
But I do
good to
know
know.
there are some people out there ruining the movie going experience, and those people should be shot
Fair enough.
in front of their
Um,
beds.
what, is this the year of the villain, or do I do origin stories? I think people like a redemption story.
But
Um,
I don't think a
we
villain story is a redemption story.
True, but I think people like to. I think people like the idea of not people aren't just bad to be bad. I
I
think,
agree with that.
and I
Expound on that.
think, yeah, I think people don't like the idea of people just being bad to be bad. A lot of times in these villains origin stories, none of and you watch more media than I do, so you might know better. But I think in all these villain origin stories, like as you watch it, nobody's just like, oh, this guy's always just been evil. He's just evil. They're not like the guy from No Country from Old Men. Like that guy was just kind of like
And
the
Tasha, go
embodiment
ahead.
of evil. Sure, that guy just was like the embodiment of evil. I don't think they're going to do a origin story about him. It's like, I was touched as a kid. Somebody hurt me. I don't know.
Hold on. Do you mean touched? Do you mean like priest touched, or like touched in the head
I meant like abuse,
physically?
sexual abuse. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
physical abuse.
I
Yeah,
wasn't sure. Like some people, country
sure,
people, he's touched in the head. I didn't know if you were going
sure.
that way, like spotlight touched.
Yeah, but I think people just like that idea. When we talk about cancel culture, people are canceled for a minute, but then if they show repentance of some kind, they generally come back. Unless they just stick hard to be like, nah, I'm gonna be this way forever. Then people are kind of like whatever. But I mean, I think we have a culture of if people show contrition and remorse, they can come back. So I think that works with villains too.
Um, I have a different take. Maybe it might not be too different. It might be building upon what you said. Me and my wife talked about this, and we've kind of gone circles around it. I think the idea behind the villain is to explore how you ended up on that side of things.
Hmm.
But I also think it's if a good villain story, if you have a good villain story, you can watch the descent of someone. I think a good villain story shows you that we are all a handful of steps away.
From snapping,
Yep.
from Breaking Bad.
And not Breaking Bad, I'm Falling Down. If you remember
Sure.
that movie back in the day with Kurt Russell. Um, but I do think a villain story, a good one, gives you a person
Michael
who,
Douglas.
huh?
You said Kurt Russell, but I think you meant Michael Douglas.
Was it Michael Douglas?
Yeah, because I looked it up when you said Kurt Russell. Like, I don't think it's him. I think it's the other white guy, Michael
Uh,
Douglas. Keep going.
Probably right. Yeah, you're probably right. I think a good villain story shows you a person, a will he or won't he. It's kind of like the anticipation you get from a romantic comedy. will they get together or how will they get together? Like, at the end, they're going to get together.
Hmm.
So, like, if you already have the premise that this person is a villain, how do they get here? What are the steps that they take from going from here to here? And I think if you have a good villain story, you can see, you may not like them or agree with the choices they made, but it is believable how they got there. And I
Hmm.
think the reason why those two TV series were good is because you could see they were likable people. Because that's another thing. If they're likable, it makes it that much more outrageous that they became villains. So Catherine Hahn is very likable as Agatha.
Yeah.
She, we built the character in WandaVision. We saw her in this one. She was still likable, even though there were so many warning signs that she was not a good person. But we still liked her. If you watch Colin Farrell and the Penguin, we know the story of who the Penguin is. We don't know how this particular person became the Penguin. And oh boy, did we ever. And
Hmm.
I th- and Colin Farrell said in an interview, and I think a lot of people did not believe him because we were kind of rooting for him the whole time in this gang war. By the end of it, you hated him. And if you didn't, there's something wrong with you. Like
You know
if
who
you
could have
thought,
solved it?
oh, like if you
LAPD.
thought, you were like, yeah, I could see why he did that. Like, oh my gosh.
Hmm.
But I think that is the telling of a good villain story. If by the end you can understand why they made those decisions and hate them for it, not agree with them, understand, because those are two different things.
Sure.
I don't agree with the half the shit my kids do, but I understand why they do it.
Are you saying your kids are villains?
Hell yeah. I call
Oh,
one of
okay.
them bean ass baby.
Wow. Okay.
Owen.
That-
Oh yeah, he has a little Omen voice sometimes when he don't get his way. I'll be like, hey, you want to do? He'll be like, no. And I'll be like, hey, you want to do? No, daddy. And I'm like, whoa, okay, okay, okay. Yeah,
Nice.
yep.
Um, yeah, I think the penguin just needs a little love from the LAPD and he'll be fine.
No, he needs a lot more than that. I'm gonna tell you
Nah,
right now,
my LAPD comes from the rookie.
I don't want to be a part of his family. I see what he does to family. I want to be an enemy.
I'm on episode 6 now. Um, yeah.
Really?
No.
Have they found the tunnels yet?
Yeah. They got the tunnels. They're starting to do the mushrooms. Yeah. Spoilers for whatever. He burning people up. That was rough that they burned the mama and his son up like that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. They got off easy compared to the other stuff he does in that shit. They got off easy.
I guess that's true. Um, yeah.
I mean, I just I was thinking about the fact that the penguin, everybody, like, I have not met, um, in talking to people, even people who don't like that type of show. There's a guy at my job. His name is Gaines, and he was like so impressed with this show. And he's not a real big genre person or watching a lot of stuff. He'll watch it, but he's not really. But he was very enamored with how good the show was.
Hmm.
And you know, he hasn't watched Agatha, and I'm not sure if he will. But I think Agatha is another example of you rooted for her, and then you watched that last episode of how she became Agatha, and you're like, oh yeah, I can see
Hmm.
why you fell in love with death. Like, yeah, you make a good couple.
Yeah. Uh, Ken from Chicago. I have not finished episode 6. I've started it.
Yeah,
That's a show I can't. I really do enjoy the show, but I can't watch like binge it because it's just a show I got to pay attention to, and it's heavy.
I told you to watch it week by week.
I am watching it week by week. I just started later than everybody else.
Nah.
Um,
What what I will
but
say is when you watch some of these shows that are villain shows, No, nope. You opened it, finish it. Don't be trying to get me drunk because you can't finish your liquor. Yeah, that's the kind of household we run here. If you opened it,
I You opened it, you finished it.
that goes for
Fantastic.
wives and babies. The drink, you terrible human. Um, I think that's one of the things that a lot of people did not like about the prequels, but loved about Clone Wars. Clone Wars, you could see the evolution of Anakin becoming Darth Vader.
Hmm.
Whereas if you watch just the prequels, you don't see the progression. You don't understand how he went from this extreme.
He kind of just snaps in a movie.
Yeah, you don't
You're
see
like, wait
that.
a minute, what happened?
Yeah, Ken. If they open that liquor, they got to finish it. I don't care how old you are. We don't ruin good liquor here in this household.
Fantastic.
Um, what gift? Don't try to gift me stuff so you could take advantage of me and sell all my stuff, these valuable collectibles in this house. That's the only reason why you're trying to get me liquored up. So I'll fall asleep and pass out and you can post all my shit on eBay. That's right, boys and girls. Never trust your spouse. Also, never tell them how much you actually pay for this stuff. Uh, life lessons with Leroy.
Life lessons for holidays with Leroy.
But no, I mean, I think that's one of the things that a lot of people were upset by, that you did not get to see the progression of Anakin to Darth Vader. It was just kind of like, oh, he's bad now. But in Clone Wars, you got to see the moral flexibility that he had, and also where he didn't understand how the Jedi Council could come to these decisions, but also how the Jedi Council pushed him in directions that made him have to challenge them because they made bad decisions. But on the flip side, the Jedi Council were not generals. They were fighting a war, but that was not their job. And so
Right.
they would not listen to the commanders in the field. They would make these decisions that were absolute, whereas Anakin and Obi-Wan would be out in the field, where Obi-Wan would, I wouldn't say blindly, but would follow the Jedi Council's orders. However, Anakin would say, this is not right. But Obi-Wan would be like, but that's the way. And Anakin's like, well, this is bullshit. And I
Hmm.
think Clone Wars gave you a better sense of that. You got a better sense of they were brothers. And also, you got a, which made it even worse, is when you love the character Ahsoka and you see that he was a mentor to her and that he really loved her and vice versa. And then you saw and you realize, especially in season 6, when you saw that last scene when she leaves the order entirely and you see Anakin come back as Darth Vader and you realize that that bond is shattered forever after you've watched all these seasons of them working together. It really does break your heart. So I do understand that origin story, so to speak, why people loved it, because you wanted to know how the person who was the literal chosen one.
Here's a question for you. Well,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. I always got this question. You know,
No, I
you
was going to say how the literal chosen one basically brought down the entire Jedi Order.
when you think of villain stories and how they're told, do you, and you may not have an answer because I just thought of this now, do you like the idea of seeing this person as a villain and then seeing their origin story later? Or do you like the idea of watching this person slowly become a villain?
Both.
Okay. Because I'm
Because
wondering which one works for a better tale. Because I'm thinking of something like Breaking Bad. We see Walter White descend to become a villain,
yes.
so we kind of see his origin story through the show. But
Hmm.
like something like we're talking about, we know who Darth Vader is, and then we find about his origin story later. So I was just curious.
I think it depends on who it is. Like, one, I think we're so enamored with certain people that we have to have an origin, whether they're good or bad. I think one of the people who I think to his detriment, now he has so many origin stories. It's like, well, which one is it? Take a character like Wolverine. For the
Hmm.
longest, no one knew where he came from. And I apologize, my nose is running, my allergies acting up. We had Weapon X, and that's it. We had like little smattering of he was from Team X. He was a Canadian super soldier, black ops person, and we got these little smatterings. And then we got Paul Jenkins's origin, and then we built upon this, and then we had to know everything about this character. I think that is not good. I think there
Hmm.
is something to that person's mystery. I think knowing a little bit of the backstory, but not knowing all of it, allows the viewer, the audience, to create their own narratives in their mind. Uh, and that's for Wolverine. I think that that works because Wolverine kind of is an anti-hero to a certain extent. Um, I think the Joker to me works better not knowing
Hmm.
the idea of whether or not he was a failed comedian, whether or not he was a chemist. All of these different things plays in the idea of he is Batman's worst nightmare because you don't know what and who he is. He could be anybody. He could be anybody who became this person. And to me, that is the most dangerous thing because that means we're all potentially the Joker. We're all potentially one tragedy from becoming a megalomaniac, mass murdering serial killer.
Hmm.
And that, storytelling wise, is wonderfully to write, but it's also very scary because it also means what would it take for you to become this? Um, so you have that, but also you could, and I'm trying to think of who are the Sopranos. I'm trying to think of like characters like uh, Tony Soprano, where like you start with somebody who's not necessarily a low level villain, but
Hmm.
somebody who is a villain. You know this is a bad person who becomes over the course of a season worse, where this person continues to make decisions and choices where you're just like, oh my gosh, and to almost to the point where you want this person caught. And perfect
Hmm.
example is Tony Chickless. Is it Tony Chickless? Michael Chickless.
Michael Chiklis.
Michael Chickless in The Shield. That's where a
Go
lot of
with
people.
Vic Mackey, right?
Yep, that's where a lot
Yeah.
of people first fell in love with Walter Goggins as Shane. And keep in mind, Michael Chiklis was amazing in The Commish, where he was like this lovable police officer who had all of these different things. And as those seasons in The Shield progressed, you were like, oh my gosh, somebody catch him, somebody stop him.
Hmm.
And I think The Shield is one of those stories where you're watching the evolution of a man who was dirty pretty much turn evil. Like towards the end, he was broken, but he did monstrous things, sometimes for the good, but a lot of times for the betterment of himself, to the
Hmm.
point where he sold out his own people. Like, go back and watch what happened in that final season. You like his team, which he coveted and protected over his family at times. I would not like it. Almost similar. It almost shows you what's going to happen to the penguin at the end, to where what Vic Mackey did to protect his family and sold out his team was, yeah, Kay. A lot of people forget that first episode showed you exactly how dirty he was. So I think that's why I said it depends. And here's another thing. It also depends on what character or what actor plays a character.
Sure.
Because if you already know that person as someone, again, Michael Chiklis was amazing in The Commish, and then we saw him become a dirty cop in The Shield. So right now, let's take it a step further. We know Walton Goggins as a great actor.
Hmm.
Vice Principals, um, The Righteous Gemstones, The Shield. He's going to be in White Lotus, um,
Justified.
Justified. So now let's take him in Fallout. We know the range of this character. He starts out as a family man. We see him as a family man, and now we meet him as the goon. We're literally watching in Fallout the evolution of a good man turn into something physically and mentally monstrous. So I think these origin stories are a little more fun to write because a lot of times we want our good guys to be good.
Hmm.
We used to play with our good guy origin stories a little bit better, a little more than we do now. And I think that's a detriment, kind of like we always talk about The Rock and how he always plays the same character versus Sylvester Stallone, who played First Blood. Rambo was the hero in that story, but he was doing some monstrous things. But we also realize he was provoked by Brian Dennehy. We don't
Hmm.
get that now. We don't get those stories like that from some of our best actors now. Uh, uh, Excuse me, guys. I apologize. My sinus is acting up a little bit. But I don't know if I really answered your question. I just think it's
And
interesting.
again, there's no answer. I was just curious. I mean,
I don't
no
know.
correct answer I was looking for.
I just thought it was interesting as we talked about that this some of our TV shows, like perfect example, Arcane. Take Arcane for example. Jinx is kind of a villain, or at least a anti-hero in League of Legends. And a lot of people, that psychosis that she displays in League of Legends, a lot of people wanted to know how we got here. And oh, did we ever figure it out?
Yeah, we got it in the show.
And we got it in this show. Like, boy, did we get it. And it's like, this to me was a show done well because you took a known property and you fleshed out the details to get here. Um, and I'm trying to think of some of our most like Dexter.
Hmm.
Hit again another well done show. A lot of people feel like they didn't stick the landing. Hannibal. A lot of these shows, people want to know what makes these people tick because I think figuring out what makes a villain tick also is an exploration into humanity and what makes us all tick.
Okay.
Kay, I this is one thing I will disagree with Kay with. When she talks about Breaking Bad as uniquely American show where he breaks bad to initially pay for health insurance. I will disagree with that a little bit. I think Walter White was always that person. I think the health insurance and the cancer allowed for him to be who he really was. Because if you remember, watch the flashbacks when he was the scientist. He wasn't a nice guy then. Like, he only married Skylar. He never, he married Skylar, but he didn't respect her. If you go back and watch those flashbacks, and correct me if I'm wrong, did it seem like he really thought she was his equal?
No, I think like that final episode, we kind of get the hints where he's like, I think Skylar asked him something. He's like, "Did you do it for the family? You do it for him?" And he's like, "I did it for me."
Yep.
He comes to the realization like, "Yeah, I wanted to do this."
Yes. And I think that's one of the things where, as you watch Breaking Bad, especially some of the stuff he did, like spoiler alert, killing Christian Ritter.
Hmm.
Yeah, that wasn't out of necessity. It was out of necessity.
To
However,
preserve his shady dealings.
Yes, but that was out of keeping control of his world. And if I got to kill a bitch to do it, you don't want to be that bitch. And I honestly think if he could have killed Jesse and kept that operation going, he would have done so. Nah, Ken, he killed her. He didn't allow her to die. Ugh. So yeah, I, I, I don't think 2024 is the year of the villain, but I do believe we are going to start seeing more of these stories. And here's another reason why I think 2024 is has a potential to be the year of the villain. I think Robert Downey Jr. came back to the MCU because he spent all this time playing the good guy. He was Tony Stark. Now let's see him do the opposite. And
Interesting.
I think
I think he came
that,
back because they paid him a shitload of money.
I mean, $80 million does help. I mean, $80 million, I go back to LTX.
Oh man, no comment. No comment.
Yeah, $80 million, I go back anywhere.
Sure, sure.
But I mean, but think about it. The idea of you played this character for so long, and now you have this opportunity. Ken for Chicago. Sony hopes 2025 will be the year of the villain for all the Spider-Man movies they keep giving us. Here's another thing too. Guess which one is one of the most profitable movies of the year, and is one of the worst too.
What, Madam Web?
Nope. No.
Oh, oh, I don't know.
Take
Venom?
it. Take a guess.
I just guessed too.
What else did you say?
I said
Only
Venom,
one.
the second Venom.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. $459 million worldwide, and it's still in theaters. Venom 2, I think, knocked off one of the MCU movies
That's sad.
as far as highest grossing superhero movies. But again, villain another Venom was a villain, and through subsequent years through the 90s, they've changed him to more of an anti-hero. But here's somebody off, and here's the thing: they're still trying to figure out how they're going to make another one because this movie made a lot of money.
Hmm.
So please believe they're in on they're storyboarding, like trying to figure out like shit. How do we keep this going? So that's why I was just thinking about the whole 2024 year of the villain type stuff. Like, why do we love them so much? And we'll probably expound upon this later, but I find it interesting. Two of the biggest shows this year was
Hmm.
Agatha All Along and The Penguin, which people are like, The Penguin may be better than Peacemaker.
Interesting. I could see. I could. Okay, I could see that.
I mean, not that I put a lot of stock in Rotten Tomato, but right now the average popcorn meter is at 92 and the average tomato meter is 95. Like, we as society very rarely agree on anything, but we agree on The Penguin. We've been going for an hour, sir. I think that's enough time for us to be pontificating and bullshitting on here. What got you through
Sure.
the week?
Finishing up RPG stuff. I just finished today the DLC for Final Fantasy VII Remake. So that prepares me to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I'll probably start as soon as we get off this call, once I
Okay.
download it or whatever. And then um, y'all know how
Excuse me.
much I love Rookie, but there's no more Rookie for me to watch right now. So I got to wait till January for that to come back.
I hope that
Uh,
show gets canceled and never comes back, and they leave it on a cliffhanger.
no, that's a four quadrant show right there, man. That's not getting canceled for a while. People like Nathan Fillion, because
I
Castle
like
ran for 8 seasons.
I like Nathan Fillion, but god damn, you were harassing the shit out of me over that goddamn show.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no recollection of that.
I have
Um,
a text for you that says Blue Lives Matter, sir.
who would I don't know what you're talking about. Um, and then that's I do want to watch the Florida Man show. Thank you, Kay, for putting that there. I couldn't remember where I saw that thumbnail at. I just wanted to see people doing crazy
On
uh,
Max.
reenactments. Yeah, on
That's
Max.
Danny McBride, right? He produces that one, right?
I don't know. I just saw the thumbnail pop up. I'm like, this
Okay.
is something I would watch. Um,
Okay.
so that's probably it. I told you I got my tickets to Japan.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I got my plane tickets to Japan, so we're working on that. That's cool. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You?
I have a conundrum.
Uh-oh.
Alan Wake 2 is $40 for the digital.
You
50.
don't you spend $50 done. You stand on principle. You
Here's
get
the
that
thing.
physical. Uh-huh.
I'm really thinking about buying a PS Portal.
You wow.
I,
Okay.
see,
I don't even recognize you anymore.
I know my moral has been compromised.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I've been really thinking about that because I just finished Borderlands 3. Um, so that's on the so the games that I want to play, Borderlands. I want to play Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, and I want to go through and replay both Last of Us games before HBO debuts Last of Us Season 2 Part 1. So that's game on the game horizon. Okay, you're right. Buy physical media. I had a bit of weakness. You're right. You guys are right. Thank you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I am watching The Gentleman. I have 2 episodes left.
The Netflix thing?
Yeah.
I thought you watched it when it came out.
No, I did not.
No,
Did you
I
watch it?
enjoyed that show. I did. Wendy and
I
I
did.
watched it. We enjoyed it.
Theo James.
Yeah.
Only seen him in a handful of stuff.
Hmm.
Very good in this.
Yeah,
Superb.
he's good. Yeah.
Um, the woman who plays Susie Glass, I do not remember her, but she has left an impression upon me.
Hmm.
Uh, I love the guy who plays Nathan, the boxing promoter. He was in Suits for a while. Um, Kim from Chicago.
Kay, my trip is in May.
That's where you're wrong. I've always been the villain, sir.
Yeah.
I have never been the hero in this situation. Um, so so I'm watching The Gentleman. I'm going to start Shogun because I have some days off coming up, and I'm just going to like sit down and watch it. I was
You
trying.
excited for Skeleton Crew? That starts soon, right? Like Tuesday?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
Like I've been burned by Star Wars because of the Acolyte. Because I enjoyed the Acolyte, but I don't want to get invested for them just to cancel that shit. So it's new Star Wars. I want to see it, but I'm kind of hesitant. It's like dating. I don't want to put myself back out there. I'm not ready yet. Um,
Okay.
so no. So I've got some games to play. I'm trying to decide how much I'm going to buy and how much I want to leave to Christmas presents, and then I'm going to finish show. I'm going to watch Shogun because I want us to do our best TV shows of the year,
Okay.
and I want us to pick five, and I want that to be a video because I already have like, uh, Herbert, man, we about to wrap up. Uh, Glad to see you. Um, I have probably four. Like I pretty much know what my best shows of the year are, with
Hmm.
one exception, and I need to watch to confirm or deny two more shows if it gets on the
Okay.
list. So yeah,
Cool.
that's and Christmas. Like yeah, oh yeah, like I have been going hard on Christmas, like making my in laws buy a Christmas tree. Uh, uh, we've been buying ornaments. The tree is up right now. We're gonna decorate it tomorrow. We're going to do lights. We're going to do Santa. We're going to do all that shit. And I will
Hmm.
say this: now that I am a dad, I do know now. I know now why dads are mad all the time. I really do.
I
Like,
mean, you were mad all the time before you had kids.
yeah, but this is a different level of mad. Like, I just spent
Oh, okay.
fucking $50 on ornaments, and then this kid gets mad and fucking in Marshalls or something because he can't have a lollipop, and I'm like, what is going on?
Nice.
So yeah, I understand why dads are mad, but yeah, but that's about it.
Cool.
Oh, watch Gladiator 2, loved it. You need to go watch it so we can review it because I have thoughts.
Okay.
And don't tell my wife. I may go see Wicked with her so we can review that because I know you're going to go see it.
Maybe.
Oh,
Like I
really?
want. I no, no. I mean, I want to see it. I just 2 hours and 40 minutes is a long time to spend in the theater.
Sir, if my wife who hates movies can go see it, you can cowboy the fuck up.
I can. I might not though, but I can. You're right.
So yeah.
Cool. All right,
All right.
folks. We are
Well,
getting out of here.
hey guys, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all that shit. Oh yeah, Kwanzaa's
All of
not
them.
until after Christmas, so we'll see you before Kwanzaa. Anyway, hope you guys have a
Hopefully, we'll
great
see you
day.
next week.
Oh yeah, we'll see him next week.
Yeah.
Hook or by crook. So yeah. Uh, and with that being said, go Celtics, fuck Drake, and hope USC does not get into playoff. We out.